So, so it's the system integrators, the independent software vendors, the federal government, you know, anything the federal government uses, procures, or builds has to be Section 508 refresh compliant. So it's great that the WCAG 2.0 standards are so approachable. But give us the flip side. What is your least favorite thing about the WCAG?
So they are new and different than what people are used to, and we started off the discussion this morning about, you know, that the requirements are your floor, so let's not turn that into the ceiling. They are minimal requirements, and it's, you know, the importance about trust but verify. I love that. We need that in the physical world as well as the IT world. And, you know, it is important to have trust in your contractors and your vendors and your developers, but you do need to do something to follow up behind them. And that's one of the great things about HTML, or, you know, it's one of the things people hate as well, is that, you know, you go to any web browser, you can do view source. So if somebody's not doing something right, at least in terms of accessibility, it's usually you can go to the code and you can point it out to them. So it's very transparent from that kind of thing. And the 508 standards were not, well, especially as time has developed, they weren't a sufficient, they are no longer a sufficient floor legally, and they haven't technically been a sufficient floor, a sufficient minimum set of requirements for quite a while. So it's really good that we've got a modern set of new minimum standards with the WCAG 2.0 success criteria. But that said, there are some things that are a little confusing with the WCAG 2.0, like because it's so technology neutral, you don't have the, you know, the line-by-line requirements for data tables that we have with the original standards. You have to you have to go to a second level to realize that that's okay, that's the same requirements we had before. I'm looking in a different place. And so that's a little confusing. And then it's also a little confusing for folks for that because when WCAG 2.0 was written, it was written with these three different levels: the level A, the level AA, the level AAA. And level A is actually, you know, it's a decent standard for minimal accessibility. Level AA, which is what we settled on, is actually you know, it adds on more things, and it's, you know, it's really actually a very good baseline for accessibility, and it matches up to many of the requirements that we had with the original 508 standard. So, you know, just going to level A was clearly not enough in the federal space. So level AA is the right place for us to be at. But we also have these AAA things there, and you have to go to the same source document that has the things that you're required to do and the things that might be nice to do later, and that's confusing for some people. And then there's actually some conflict between the minimum in one place for the minimal things for level A and the things that are required minimally for level AA. So the level A gives you a couple choices. I'll name the thing that's you're allowed for videos and movies. You're allowed to have a transcript at level AA. Well, at level A, single A. Level AA takes away that option as a transcript. You have to have live captioning, or, you know, captioning that's in tune with the video. So that's confusing for folks.
Yeah, but I guess, Bruce, technology neutral, I mean, with the number of technology changes that happen on a day-to-day basis, I guess that would be something that it would almost be terrible if it was tied or more closely attached to a technology. But aren't the techniques more specific to a technology?
Right. So the additional supplementary materials, and that was something we already knew. I mean, we had the access board to put together. This was before I joined them, so I can, you know. But there was like a guide, some guide to the standards. The original 508 standards came out in 2002, I think. You know, and it hadn't been updated since then because there was so much better and more rich technical assistance from third parties. There was no real reason for the access board to try and keep up materials, technical assistance materials like that, when the W3C in particular and other groups like WebAIM you might have heard of, and third-party companies like DQ came around. You know, there's just so much more material. There was no reason for the access board to trying to be a single point source on web accessibility because there's so much more out there. And that's one of the nice things with going to the WCAG 2.0 is that there's the W3C does a great job with the techniques, many of them being very specific to the particular technologies, the specific markup languages. So you really do have a lot of rich stuff there. But that also reminded me of one of the points I wanted to make about the original standards. Talked about try to divide technology into nice, neat components into product categories. So we had software, we had web content, we had telecommunications, we had multimedia, self-contained closed, and portable computers. Well, desktop and portable computers. So those 6 things. Well, the smartphones that most people have in their pockets are all 6 of those things. So those product categories were just counterproductive, and they have been for several years. So it's nice to be in this more technology neutral